So energy has when Afrobeat is, and it's just amazing how in recent years Afrobeat has taken over when it comes to the music around the world. I mean, pop, you have funk, and now you have Afrobeat in influencing almost every production that comes through. But in the same way, can African countries influence the world economically as its music is doing. Well, I have someone who is really, really passionate about Africa. He's no stranger to this program and to the discourse as well. He's been here a couple of times. I'm calling him the friend of the show, Mr. Reginald Arico. Good morning to you, Reginald.
Good morning, Daniel. Good to see you
Good
again.
to see you again, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Right, great. So, first and foremost, I mean, the term third world has was originally coined in times of the Cold War to distinguish nations that were aligned with the West or with the East. That's the communist bloc. And today, the term is used to describe developing countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Oceania. But there is a particular narrative that we've heard over and over again, and that is the narrative of Africa being third world, and the question to it as well whether we would ever come out of that position. But then I reflected as I was even about to getting ready for the show. I was reflecting, and I realized that in recent in past years, countries like Malaysia, Singapore were all described as third world. China even, but now economically they are rubbing shoulders with the countries we call superpowers. So can anything be done? I know you are very, very passionate about this, and as such, you sit very well to have this conversation. So, I want us to begin. In your opinion,
Yes.
when we talk about wealth creation, economic freedom, do you think that Africa would ever get to that position?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And what's happening? Thank you for inviting me to discuss this. I'm passionate about this very topic. In 1994, I had the opportunity to be in a conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where I listened to a gentleman called Dr. Dennis Waitley. And he said a lot of things that day. But one of the things that stuck with me as a 24-year-old was the following words. I'll try to quote him verbatim, but I'll paraphrase if I may. It says, there are 300, this is 1994, yeah? So there are 300 million Chinese people that speak perfect English today. It said, and because of the information superhighway, which is what the internet was called when it was first launched, they now know they're poor. They want to eat and they want to come to the banqueting table, and they're coming. That was in 1994. In 1994, when you talk about Chinese, if you're from Africa or you have an African heritage, you think about movies only.
Absolutely, that's true.
Okay, yes, that's all you can
Chinese
think.
film.
Yes, Chinese
That's
films.
true.
Okay, today, China is overtaking the rest of the world in terms of productivity and the revenue, the growth. Um, in 2020, which is a couple of years from now, there would be a struggle for currency. It's already happening. In Zimbabwe now, for example, they've dropped the dollar and using the Chinese currency. The IMF has just recently put the Chinese currency in their what do you call it, where they weigh currencies where the dollar used to dominate.
Right.
Okay, so we have a situation where the economy is moving from the west, which is where Africa, the parts of Africa that we come from, like Sierra Leone and Ghana and everything else, are aligned with the west, and it's moving to the east. Now, if you look all around Africa, the developments that are happening in the main are being fueled by heavy indebtedness um, to the government by the Chinese. So
Right.
they'll come and build your roads, very expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've lost a generation in debt, basically. Now, your president, and I would forever praise him, I don't care what the political persuasion is of the listener, but here's a man that has found a way, President Nana, to communicate that, this deal can no longer work, where Africa is being raped and pillaged for its resources. And it's so easy. But now we know, like the gentleman said in 1994, because of the information superhighway, because of the internet now, news and all the communication tools like WhatsApp, the guy in the village now knows he's poor.
Mm.
The guy in the village now knows he's being ripped off when he plants his cocoa and he can't feed his family, but somebody's making that into a beautiful chocolate in Cadbury's and so on and so forth. People are becoming aware. What we need is strong leaders who. We've had people before in the past, say your Mandela's, for example,
Yeah,
who's
Mandela.
just turned 100 years recently. He's played his part in this dialogue, and may so rest in perfect peace. We've had the likes of Thomas Sankara,
Right. Yeah.
who stood up to the West, but in what do you mean? In an aggressive manner. For example, if you're a parent, Daniel, your child can get the best of you, but not in an aggressive manner. Okay, so we need to recognize that the West is far advanced in their economies. Okay, but we have to have a dialogue of a win-win situation where the talk of immigration, immigrants won't come if they have job opportunities in their land. Why would they leave beautiful sunshine and beautiful beaches to come to the cold winter if they have the opportunities? So now that the economies is changing from west to east, we have a situation where people are working meaningless jobs. Okay, you've got some degree holders today that are, instead of being a barrister, they're a barista. Okay, they're pouring coffee
Right.
instead of working because there are any jobs. That's creating frustration. Any man worth his salt really wants to be in a position of getting themselves gainfully employed. Okay, pouring coffee down the local coffee shop does not make you feel fulfilled. And it's no secret that what we're seeing on the streets of London, for example, all with these attacks, all with these knives, stems from hopelessness. Stems from hopelessness. People feel it's not an excuse. We just got to call the problem for what it is.
Absolutely, yeah.
The devil makes work for idle hands.
Idle hands is said.
Yes, yes. And you say, well, okay, but they're working in the coffee shop. Well, with the Instagram generation, with going online and seeing how the other half live, it's frustrating. You're in the room, but you're not a part of the party. Yes, there's a picture. There's something wrong with it. Your face is not in it. You feel left out. You feel rejected. So how does that tie in with the African diaspora? It's putting people in a situation where they're losing their identity, okay? They're not sure whether they're Europeans or Africans, because Africa has nothing for them, okay? And Europe also offers them nothing. So they're in a state of confusion, which can easily create a situation where people are manipulated, say by terrorist groups or brainwashed, because their minds are searching for something to believe in.
And from what you're saying, that sort of feeds into some of the things that are being told to the authorities, that the mayor, especially when it comes to knife and gang crime, where it looks like they don't have a clue what to do. But what you're saying are sentiments that's been echoed over and over again.
Yes.
Like you're saying, people are just caught in the middle, especially. It's no secret that most of the victims that are caught in that web are people of black ethnic minority
Correct.
communities. And the question is why is it that all the time you have such children or such people of that heritage being caught in it? It feeds directly into what you are saying.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's a problem that must be addressed. Like I say, my co-director Scott Martin is white, and when we were starting out in business and struggling, when we were eating one-pound pork in Mitcham and so
Mm.
on, I used to tell him, I said, "But Scott, the difference between me and you've got grandparents that will back you up." So we have a situation where, in some families, you've got a grandparent that will back the grandchild, or even a parent that will back the child.
Absolutely.
In most of the ethnic minority situation, mom or dad, or mom and dad, are struggling to make ends
They are
meet.
looking up to you.
They're looking up to you, the child. They've poured some money into you. They've poured some education into you. They're looking up to you to stand on your own 2 feet, so one less mouth to feed, or roof to worry about over somebody's head. But then here you are, you're 40 something, and you're living in the same room that you used to play with your teddy bears, because there's no job opportunities, or the opportunities that are there are so specialist for you to make a life. The average income in this country now is about 27,000 pounds.
Pounds, yeah.
When you take rent or mortgage, in most cases it's rent, you take shopping and everything else. When you take just the basic necessities of life, you're left with £5. What are you going to do with £5? Where's the emergency fund? Where is the fund for when the roof goes, or the kid needs a new pair of shoes? So we have this frustration all round, and boys and girls are looking at their parents and saying, "Well, let me go do something else to help in the household." And that something else could be illegal means of getting money. It could be selling drugs. It could be selling their bodies to make ends meet, even though they hide it, or being in a relationship that is not equitable,
Absolutely.
just to come home and feed or support the family. So back to the main topic, we have a situation where I don't think we've woken up as a race, as a society, to what is really happening to the world economy and how we should be prepared for it, both here in the diaspora and taking advantages of the opportunities now back home. An Italian foreign minister, a Polish foreign minister, said something recently that's documented. I'm not going to quote him, but I'll just give the essence of the conversation. He said, "We don't want any immigrants in our country." When I saw that, when I heard that and I saw it, and I saw the silence from black people who have the power, the influence, they went about their businesses, no commentary was made. That breaks my heart because, like I say, the conversation now should be open that these immigrants are only coming because you, or companies that you support, are facilitating the corruption that's making it impossible for them to be able to stay in their land. So you can't have it both ways. You can't facilitate corruption, where in Congo, for example, the richest country on planet Earth in terms of raw materials, there people are slaying themselves.
Mm.
On the beach that should attract tourists, people are being buried alive, basically. Why? Because there's a monetary machinery in the background that's driving, well, get rid of this tribe, divide and conquer. We want the resource. Your beautiful Toyota Prius that you drive, the batteries from things like that, the
Yeah.
hybrid
Yeah.
cars, your Teslas and so
Mm.
on. Those batteries are being, the raw material for those are being sourced with child labor. So that child is taken out of school, very young age, and is working to feed the family, but that child soon turns into a man or a woman who's now uneducated, does not know how to read, does not know how to write. All they can work with is their hands. And it's just a cycle.
But right now, let's look at the challenge from back home, and let's find out what is it that African the leaders in African countries can do or must do to make sure that at least little steps are being taken to um, change the situation, if not even now or immediately, in the very near future. What are some of the things that can be done? I mean, Rwanda is a case in point where Paul Kagame is now being praised for the extraordinary changes that he's brought to the country, a country that's coming from genocide. You know, looking at the development, the steps to curb corruption, the infrastructure, and Rwanda is now the talk and an epitome of economic independence and development. So somebody had to do something, which we are seeing the visible evidence of it.
Mhm.
So before this can translate to, I mean, how those in the diaspora can really look back home and, you know, benefit, take advantage, what can the leaders in Africa, very influential companies, business leaders, political leaders, you know, leaders of social organizations, what can they do, and what must they do?
Okay, very good. I like the fact that you referenced Rwanda. I was going to say that. Just last month, VW launched their assembly plant
Plants, yeah.
factory in Rwanda. And I saw some beautiful pictures of Rwanda. Makes you want to go to the place. Um, their president must have taken the blueprint from the father of Singapore, the then president, whose son now is the president, because he inherited a third world country, like you say, and he had strict principles in place that they engaged. I saw him do an interview with Fareed Zakari in 2008. And I thought to myself, every African politician should be put through an examination of this guy's book before you you put your hand up as wanting to
Say, I
be
want to be a president.
want to be a president or minister, whatever. They should put you in a room to take an exam based on his book, because it's the blueprint for how you build equitable economies that can raise your people and raise the profile of your country. The problem we have, Daniel, is this. I like to think in simple terms. Okay? So let's say I put you in a shop down the road. We've got a shop, grocery store.
Hmm.
Think about this, please. But I don't pay you enough to feed yourself. All right? So here comes a crooked neighbor, comes to you, Daniel, what's happening? These tin of baked beans, how much are they? Oh, they're £2 each. Okay? I want 10. Okay? So I should pay 10 times 2, that's £20. But Daniel, listen, could you do me a deal? I'll give you the cash. Now, you're not being paid enough. You know, you're probably being paid £10 a month. Let's just say that. But here I am offering to give you £10,
Which is an extra.
for £20 worth of goods. So now you give me the goods, you don't ring it through the till. So there's no receipt to the business owner. You're happy, you've just doubled your income. Right? You know, you're being paid £10. I've given you £10 in one move. In fact, you're looking for me to visit you next week to give you another £10. Okay? That's exactly what's happening to the African economy. People are not being paid realistic sums of money to match their what do you call it? Their
The standard
educational
of living.
level, their
Mm.
standard of living, and so on and so forth. So when you have the man with the briefcase coming in, who's just flown business class, and he comes in, he opens his briefcase, and says, "I want access to your resources. They cost 10 million, but I want to buy them really at 5 million,
Or even less.
even less. Here's 1 million for you. You're now a rich man. Your kids are now secured, but you've ripped the country off its gains, and that's what's going on. It's a two-prong attack: the seller and the buyer.
Mm.
Hey, listen, I learned a long time. It's not how much you sell things for that matters as such. It's how much you can buy them for. So it's a business principle that's being employed, but it's being employed to the detriment of a nation. A whole continent is being held in the dark, except for people like the Rwandan president, your president, who's doing a fabulous job, and one or two other
The
spots.
Tanzanian president as well.
Tanzanian president, and so on. But what we need to have is we need to have politicians who seek the interest of their people, but have the long-term vision that you can become wealthy. I mean, let me ask you another question. Do you worry about Tony Blair on a daily basis?
Not at all.
You don't. You know why? Because when you go home today, you're going to switch on the lights, and you've got lights. You're going to turn the tap open, you've got water. You pop your TV on, you sit down, you relax, you make yourself a hot cup of coffee or chocolate, whatever it is. You can do that. So you don't have to worry about how wealthy Tony Blair is. It's none. In fact, without being rude, there's no other way to put it. It's none of your business.
Absolutely.
Because you've got your life.
Yeah.
But the average person in Africa does not have that. The average person today, who's working, by the way, is a working man, is spending today thinking, how do I feed the family this afternoon?
Wow. We're going to come back. We're going to come back and continue the conversation. Let's take the news at the top of the hour and look at how the traffic is like around London. And when we come back, we'll continue with this conversation right here on The Breakfast Show.
It was a well-paying job, respectable, wearing a suit and tie every day. But I drank 24/7. Drank on the way to work, drank at work.
I never could come to terms with admitting that I had an alcohol problem or a pill problem.
I decided to get clean, and so I went to the Narconon program.
Not only did I handle my drug addiction, I completely knew how to live life.
Call Narconon today at 01435 512 460. 01435 512 460.
So, you need a new car, but just found out you have less than perfect credit. Well, at Wheels for Sure, we've been helping people like you since 2012. And with hundreds of 5-star reviews from happy customers, we really do mean helping. At Wheels for Sure, you could drive away in a brand new car on a 3-year lease, with servicing, manufacturer's warranty and breakdown cover included. So, for affordable motoring, even with less than perfect credit, change your life today at wheelsforsure.com. Wheels for Sure is FCA regulated. T's and C's apply.
ABN Radio, London's Afropolitan radio station. More news, more information. This is ABN News on the Hour.
From the Sky News Centre at 10, around 50 people have been killed and nearly 200 injured in wildfires sweeping resorts near Greece's capital. The Red Cross says 26 more bodies have been discovered in the seaside town of Mati. Kostas Larganos, who's from there, managed to escape.
Thankfully, the sea was there and we went into the sea because the flames were chasing us all the way to the water. It burned our backs and we dove into the water. It reminded me of the eruption at Pompeii. Exactly that.
A hydroelectric dam under construction has collapsed in southeastern Laos, apparently killing several people. Local state media says homes were swept away in the floodwater and hundreds are missing. 1 million public sector workers are expected to get a wage rise of between 1.5% and 3.5%. So what the government is about to scrap its public sector pay cap. Public Health England says 22,000 children left primary school severely obese last year. More than 4% of 10 and 11-year-olds are in the worst weight category. 8 scouts have been sent home from an international gathering after 2 teenagers were charged in relation to cannabis offences. They've been taking part in a 2-week jamboree on the Blair Athol estate in Perthshire. Norton Keynes on the M6 toll has been voted the best motorway service station in England. Thousands of travellers were questioned about their experiences. Thurrock on the M25 got the lowest satisfaction rating. Louise Collins is from Transport Focus, which did the study.
At the time of the survey, Thurrock was undergoing a massive refurbishment, and in effect it was something of a building site. For some of it, the Costa was closed, people couldn't even get a coffee. I think this is a very interesting point because it really shows that operators are investing.
And Prince Harry is joining Sir Elton John at a conference to highlight the need to reduce HIV infections in men. The singer, who performed at the Duke's wedding reception, will share the stage at an event in Amsterdam. That's the latest. I'm Nick Qureshi.
ABN Radio, London's Afropolitan radio station. More news, more information. More news, more information. This is ABN Travel News.
Your travel update at 10 o'clock. That's 2 minutes past 10. Brought to you by Travel for Media on the A402 Shepherd's Bush, Green, Hammersmith, and Fulham Holland Park roundabout. There's a signal timing alert for the A402, which means that the traffic lights are faulty, so you need to approach that area with caution if you're driving there. Let's look at the motorways. And the M25 still experiencing some congestion. M25 anti-clockwise exit slip at junction 18 on the A406, I beg your pardon. Crooked Billet Underpass, Waltham Forest, lane 1 of 2 is blocked due to a broken down vehicle, and this has been ongoing for a while. So if you are driving in that direction, take note because there is traffic is slow moving on approach. The M25 again, congestion reported for anti-clockwise between junctions 2 and 1A. The A13 exit for the M25 A282, there is a road traffic collision there. A13 westbound exit slip to the M25. If you are driving on that route, look for alternative routes if possible. Let's look at the rail, the train, and disruption between Norwich and this expected is up till 11 o'clock. There is also disruption to Greater Anglia services to and from London Liverpool Street, which is expected until midday. That is due to a fault with the signalling system at Stratford and a train which had broken down earlier on. Let's look at your tube, and still good news for you because all lines are in good service. The Bakerloo Central Circle District, Hammersmith and City Line, Jubilee, Metropolitan, Northern, Piccadilly, Victoria, Waterloo and City Lines are all in good service. So is the London Overground, the TfL Rail, the DLR and Tram all are in good service. We bring you updates in another hour right here on the Breakfast Show on ABN Radio, London's Afropolitan radio station.
You look elegant.
Thank you.
The hairstyle, the makeup, you change that every week.
It's Frida's Palace.
So that's standing out. Look at your birthday party was Frida's Palace, right?
You got that. Hair and makeup for every occasion, anytime. Just walk into their Norwood Junction and Croydon salons or book an appointment by calling Frida on 07931 511 991 or 0208 6535 300. Consultation is free.
Can I take you out for dinner?
As your PA, I'll have to tell your wife you're asking me out.
It's just dinner.
I still need to tell your wife.
Frida's Palace. Look elegant.
ABN TV Gospel Fest is back.
Hallelujah. Celebrate Jesus with me tonight. Hallelujah.
With award-winning Joe Metz, Bank Holiday Sunday, 26th August 2018 at Plush TBC Oasis House, 5 to 9 Peel Road, Croydon, CR03EX. Expect an awesome night of praise, worship and transformation. On the bill this year, all the way from Nigeria, the Welu Welu Master, Sami Oposu.
This is the Welu Welu Master, just to keep on the beat. Watch this. So, I love to sing your praise.
UK-based Andrew Bello. The sensational Shekinah
and many more. Get your tickets now from abntv.co.uk and abnradiouk.com. Tickets are £20 standard and £35 VIP with reserved seating, goodie bag and VIP reception with Joe Metal. All tickets purchased will be entered into a prize draw. Gates open at 5 p.m. ABN TV Gospel Fest with Joe Metal. Don't be told. Be there. Brought to you by Real Money Transfer, World Ribbits, Miss E Divine and ABN Radio. Get your tickets now.
ABN Breakfast Show, your Afropolitan breakfast on radio.
Sugar Entertainment.
You are meditating, but boy, you 30. One way, but boy, you 30. Well, I am waiting now. The job man, I am waiting. I'm elevating now. The moko now waiting. Say, I'm sharing. Namina the power. Namina the sowe. Namina the Mr. Meruna. Namina the party from your to go letter. Namina entertain you. The way me love you, I love you like how much you love a banana. The way me love you, I love you like how my body love it on a banana. Baby love me, like in a day you go give me banana. One game popo, you make us sit on a house. I know popo something nice for you, get now. And I'm looking very nice for you back, down now. Look down the bar, we want your man, nine popo rose. All the way from the sea, I'm shutting down the city. Namina the Mr. Meruna. Namina the party from your to go letter. Namina entertain you.
Her name is Zainab Sharif and Mamina Power. That's quite an interesting one. So she's from Sierra Leone, and you see, by the kind courtesy of Regina, I get to play lots of exciting Sierra Leone Afrobeat tracks, and which is good.
Yes.
But there was news, I think 2 weeks ago or so, that
Yes.
the Sierra Leone Afrobeat the Didi Short show had to be postponed to a later date.
Yes.
As a result of some unforeseeable circumstances. So you want to tell us quickly a bit more about that before we go ahead?
So first we'd spent a lot of money on booking the O2, a lot of money on getting visas for artists and so on, a lot of money with marketing with yourselves and other avenues. But then 2 Fridays ago, we did an interview on one of the stations here in England called Diaspora Voices. And after that show, Dwight, who is the Didi Short, was taken to Lewisham Hospital, and they figured out quite quickly that this was a serious situation. So he was sent to intensive care in Guy's, and it was a complicated situation. So we didn't announce anything. There was a bit of a silence, if you will, whilst we tried to observe the situation until we spoke to his doctors and himself, and realized that he'd be needing to go to the hospital for the next month, once a week minimum, and he was advised to rest. Obviously, Dwight was leading the show, so we couldn't go on with the show if he wasn't going to be around. But the good news is we are in talks with the O2, and in fact they're coming to see me on Friday at my office at 2 o'clock to seal and solidify the new date for November 16th. But as soon as we do that on Friday, we would then put out an official statement to say that's been secured, and then start the process again. There will be new communication tools out there, new flyers, new radio adverts, new television adverts, and then would be looking to have people on board who can help us to promote the show. Because one of the things, I had a very lengthy conversation with a prominent Sierra Leonean yesterday, and they were saying to me, Reg, you know, people out there don't understand why you're doing this, and so on and so forth. So I just want to make it clear. Look, music is the gateway to people's hearts. Okay? You've seen it with what the Nigerians have done, and the Ghanaians have done with Afrobeats. Today, people like Davido, Mr. Easy, Wizkid, they're known worldwide.
Right, that's true.
And what that brings is it changes the image. You know, 5, 10, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when you mention Nigerian, people think about 419. Now, when you talk about a Nigerian, people think, well, you know, are you going to the Wizkid concert? You know, where do I get my tickets for Davido's concert?
Davido was at the Wireless Festival.
There you go. There you go. Wizkid was at Coachella, the biggest festival in the world, just before Beyonce came on in Palm Springs. My point is, whereas there's a political will, you know, there's several ways to skin a cat. Okay, several ways to skin a cat. The politicians are doing what they're doing. Okay, education has been diminished in Sierra Leone, for example.
Right.
And that is going to be a long haul to change. But music, if we can get the music onto people and change the image of the country, maybe people will start taking interest as tourists, for example, in this beautiful land, Sierra Leone, through the music. They will get to meet its people. And we would slowly change the image from an Ebola-infested country, from a blood diamond legacy, to one of, boy, like you're saying, I can see it in you, Daniel, that you're enjoying playing these Sierra Leonean songs. It's like a new discovery for you.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Well, you're not alone. There's other people out there, black and white, of different cultures, that once they get access to the tune, you know, you don't know what you don't know. Until
I got introduced to names like
LXG,
and then Zainab, and you know, others who are amazing Sierra Leone Afrobeat artists, I wouldn't have known them.
Exactly.
So
exactly,
it's really true what you're saying.
And there's many people out there that don't know. I mean, you know, Smade is a promoter for Wizkid and Davido and people like that. Is big, you know, in the business. And he could only name one Sierra Leonean song. And this is a guy that's in music every day. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's not about a concert. If I wanted to do a concert, I'll do it in the same venues that they do it. This is a statement to say, listen, we're just as good. We've got the talent, but not the opportunity. So we're Cotton Tree Records is putting the two together now. Talent and opportunity to be on one of the big stages of the world. You know, this stage that we're going to put the guys, you know, Beyonce's played there at one point, the Indigo. Wizkid and Ed Sheeran have played in that environment. Yeah. You know, it was their platform to elevate them. Other names have been mentioned to me recently that can also play there. Big names like R. Kelly and so on and so forth. So we're giving them the opportunity to raise their profile and thus raising the country's profile to a new audience. It's not. I learned, success leaves clues. One of my no's, on my journey, the book Compassionate Capitalism is coming out. But one of my no's on my journey was Levi Roots. Never met him, but I sent documentation to him in Battersea at his thing. Never got an answer back or anything like that, so I take that as a no. But recently, we sat on the same panel at Solomon's room, right? Okay. And he said something there that day that I had to listen back to digest the importance of what he just said. He said, when Peter Jones chose me as a business partner on Dragon's Den, he said the first thing Peter Jones said when we sat down in a room, he said, we're going to have to dilute this hot sauce. And Levi said, but this is what my people like. And Peter Jones gave him a lesson that day. He said, Levi, if you're looking to sell hot sauce to your people, you're going to struggle. Because your people have a variety of hot sauces. In fact, they could make the hot sauce themselves.
Right.
You're looking to sell this in the Shires, the Yorkshire, the Berkshire, the Hampshires. We need to dilute it so the people's taste buds can accommodate.
So those that don't know get to know.
Get to know.
A new discovery, which is a virgin market.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're limited to just your people. It's like a preacher who's only preaching in his household. You know what I mean? You only have your wife and kids. Yes. You couldn't be KICC or one of these big mega churches if you're just preaching to your household. You're trying to reach a new audience, and there's a new approach. Whereas you could preach in your household in your pajamas, you couldn't do that in church. So you have to adjust. It's the same thing we're trying to do with the music. But the first stage is to say, these are the guys that we want to show to the world, and we're giving the world the opportunity to come into an arena where they're comfortable.
Reginold, let's feed this into the conversation that we are having. You've just mentioned approach.
Yes.
And I'm also thinking that, does it mean that in backtracking a little bit, in previous years, the approach of the West influenced or created a perception for us as Africans to let us think that, this is the only thing that we are good for. Just create the natural resources and just stay there, send it to somebody who can then make it into something else and bring it back to you. Did they employ a particular approach that has limited Africans up till now?
Yes, absolutely. Let's not make any bones about it. Again, it's not, I want to be clear to the listeners out there, it's not racism, it's not any ism, it's just money.
Money.
It is what it is. If there's a house going down the road, you want to buy it at the best possible price for you, not for the seller. It's the same with the businessman. He wants the best possible price. So what he does is he buys the raw materials, because then you don't have the vision to see what it can be. You don't have the vision to see the iron ore turn into a car. You don't have the vision to see the cocoa turn into dairy milk chocolate. You don't have that vision. So he takes the raw materials from you, and the vision bearer creates the product and then sells it back to you. It's business. So now we need to, I deal with slavery in a different way to most people. A lot of people, especially in America, African Americans, are angry about slavery, and they have every right to be angry. But here's what I console and counsel myself. Somebody had to sell the slaves. Did you think about that? They were not forcefully taken. Somebody sold.
Somebody had to sell. Yes, true.
And it's the same with our resources today. Somebody is on the ground selling our resources on the cheap. So we need now to have a conversation, a dialogue to say, okay, listen, we can do things ourselves. We can produce right here. I mean, in Sierra Leone, I use that as an example. I was down there for the elections campaigning, and we're driving from one of the provinces coming back to the city. And there's acres and acres and acres of green land untouched. Yes? But people are starving. But there's the fertile soil, arable land, but nobody's planting the seed. Everybody is looking for the imported rice. And people are happy with that status quo. Not the people on the ground. The people that should really implement change are happy with that. Why? Because you see, if you're a farmer and you plant the rice, I've got to really come and forcefully take it from you to make money. But if I could get overseas imported rice and inflate my prices, I make money anyway.
Approach. Approach. That you just mentioned in passing that you were down in Sierra Leone campaign. Does it mean that you are into politics?
Well, let me declare. I just took a stand. I took a stand, rightly or wrongly. I took a stand to support a certain candidate.
Right.
When it got to the runoffs. Now, for me, it's just a conviction. It's not, I'm not one party or the other. I'm non-partisan. I am about Sierra Leone and its well-being. A country of 7 million people with all that resource should really be in the money. Poverty should not be part of our daily conversation, but it is. So I just took a stand. So, it's just one of those things. I'm not somebody to stand on the side. Yes, I follow my conviction. That's all. That's all I did. But I like politics. I like economics. So they both go together. So worldwide, I pay attention to America. All I watch in my house is CNN. Okay, worldwide, I'm just glued because they both go together.
Now, Reginald. So let's come back home with this conversation.
Yes.
What can we do as a people to change? I mean, we've realized the various dynamics when it comes to the economics. It's all about money. It's getting it at the best possible price to the businessman, who in this case might be the corporate company in the West or the government from the West, who wants the natural resource the best possible price, and doesn't really care about how your people would be sustained and feed, and the gross domestic product and that kind of thing. They don't care about it. So we here in the diaspora, what can we do as a people to effect the change, however little it may be, right from here, to change the circumstances and also creating a ripple effect back home?
Yes. First off, let me commend you. You as a person, but most importantly, the station.
Right. Thank you very much.
You guys are beginning to be part of the solution. We can't dance our way through life. Great, we can listen to pop artists and Afrobeats and R&B and everything else and just leave it as that. But these dialogues, of which I'm going to tell you now, many people, there'll be a minority of people that will take this very seriously. And that's just the way life is. Okay? That's why there's limited seats in first class as compared to economy. That's just the way it is.
That's true.
You understand? So the moment we accept that, then we know where we're going. So you guys are beginning to do it. We need to do more of it. Church should not just be about Jesus coming back. Churches and religious venues or institutions should be having this sort of dialogues, should be having this sort of seminars. You see, what we need to do, I tell my guys at work, that when you're presenting something, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey, number one, you got to be proactive. So that means now we got to take the steps now to educate ourselves and the other people. Number 2, we have to begin with the end in mind, and that's the key. You see, a lot of people start a conversation waiting to get to the end.
Okay.
That you don't win by that, because you lose people by that. Yes? You want to begin with the end in mind, and what does that mean? We in the diaspora now should be having these conversations with politicians and other business people to show them the benefits of actually working now in a win-win relationship with Africa. Because China is grabbing the world by its throat right now. Okay? So I just saw a recent clip just the other day, this week. I saw it again. I mean, I've seen it before. A lady talking about the wealth of Africa. But then she made a statement. If Africa should stop dealing with the West, that will be massive, massive problem for all of us. And you say, well, okay, how's that significant? China is trying to do that. And they will succeed. Because you see, the difference is, whereas the West used to give aid or just give money, what China is cleverly doing, they're hands-on, putting the infrastructure in the place.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the guy in the village can see, oh, that new hospital built by Chinese. But the guy in the village did not see that money that minister siphoned. Didn't see that. But he saw the hospital being built.
The infrastructure. The
So
development.
allegiance now is going to the East. And that's going to affect all of us. That's why I'm saying the politicians and us, they need to realize, let's build a vision of how life can be if we worked together in a win-win situation. Because we've played win-lose since inception. Can we try win-win so we all can benefit?
Let's try win-win. Let's try win. If you want to contribute to the conversation, let me pick about 1 or 2 calls. If you can come through, that would be great. 0208 670 7300. That's 0208 670 7300. Or the text line is 0788 7475 My guest with me this morning talking about Africa, the East, development, economics, and the West, Mr. Reginold Laricole, who is the CEO of Wheels for Sure and Buy to Let Cars. Right. So let's do that. If you can come through 0208 670 7300, whether you want to ask a question or you want to contribute to the discussion, that will be great. Now, Reg, let's talk about your book, Compassionate Capitalism. I find that the caption very, very, very intriguing. Why did you choose that for a book?
I grew up in the Amway business. So in 1992, I was enrolled into Amway, which is a multi-level marketing company. In the UK here, we had IABS, International Business Systems, and then in the States, the Jaeger organization, Tice O'Brien, and so on. So there's a book by Rich DeVos called Compassionate Capitalism. Okay, and it deals with man's material wealth. Okay, in that book, as a matter of fact, the listeners can Google it themselves. You would see the equation as to who makes money. The guy that's actually building the product, as we see now with China, is the guy that actually makes the most money. The guy that's actually taking the raw material and turning it into something. But compassionate capitalism does not just mean that equation. It also means win-win. When David Cameron took office, it came with there was a word term that he used, but he also referred to it's time for compassionate capitalism. It never took off because people want to play win-lose. Like I said, you want to buy the house for the cheapest price possible. But then between the lines, so I'll give you a story. James Caan, the dragon.
Yeah, dragon is named James Caan.
Yeah. When he was a young boy, his father was selling leather in the east end of London. Okay. And one day his dad could not go to the supplier to conclude a deal for raw materials. And James came back all happy and excited. Dad, I managed to squeeze an extra 20 quid off this guy. To his amazement, his dad was not excited. His dad said, James, take that money back to that man and give him his £20. I said, Dad, you should be happy.
Because I made some
the
profit.
extra. He said, James, I've been working with that man for 13 years. If you keep taking £20 off his table, sooner or later he won't be in business. What do we do then? So a lot of people, I'll tell you this. So you asked me, why did I choose it? There's several reasons. Have we got time for me to go into 2 stories?
Yeah, go into
okay.
2 stories. Let's go into 2 stories. We'll quickly just before we finish the show today, we'll quickly be speaking to so a specialist from Enes Doku is a mobile expert with USwitch. He's going to tell us about quickly, just in 5 minutes, a new Flexi mobile contract that is costing customers millions of money. But that will be just about 10 minutes to the end of the show. So let's hear the story. It's very important.
So compassionate capitalism. Okay. So I went through, like I say, 150 no's over a 4-year period. I lost my business in 2008. But before the business closed, being proactive, I started working with investors, business angels, venture capitalists, manufacturers, for them to come to the table so we could build a new economy to match what's happening around the world. Now, it didn't happen. In the end, I had to go take a job in Lucas Land Rover in Battersea. One day, a woman came in, a woman named Mrs. Rabani. The story's in the book. She came in with a posh Cayenne. She had a driver, came in with a posh Cayenne. She wanted to buy the new Range Rover Evoque. But there was a 6 months waiting list. So I went into my boss and I said, this woman wants to buy the Range Rover Evoque. She's ready to leave the car today. Today, she's ready to leave the car and walk away. What's the deal? So my boss said, well, in 6 months' time, it will be £9,000. I said, no, you missed what I said. She's ready to give you the car today, so you need to price it up for today. And he looked it up. He said, oh, it's 12 grand. He said, but go offer her 9. Now, as I was walking from my boss's office to the woman, who had been nice and friendly, and it's a woman, you know what I mean? She's coming to buy a car which was not discounted. I thought to myself, this is not right. You know, my boss wants to give this woman the price for 6 months' time, but take the car today at today's value of 12,000. We are stealing from this woman. That's not what I do. I don't sell sand to an Arab. I don't sell ice to an Eskimo. What I do is I sell cold water to the Arab in the desert. That's what he needs. I sell warm clothing to the Eskimo. That's what he needs, not more ice. Now, so I sat down and I was conflicted. You know, I was in two minds. If I say this thing, you know, she might get upset. I might lose my job, but I took the risk anyway. I said, listen, the car's not going to be here for 6 months anyway. I said, my boss really wants to give you £9,000 today. I said, but your car is worth a lot more than that. Can I sell this car for you? And, you know, you'll get the full value. I said, but there's going to be a delay between you getting paid and when the car, you know, you'll be paid when the car arrives, the new car.
Yeah.
The woman looked me in the eye, never met me before, first meeting. She says, there's something in you, I trust you. Come to my house on Sunday, pick the car, do what you want to do with it, but you just make sure that when I'm ready to pick up my new car, that money is there. You know what happened with that money? You know what happened with the car? I gave it to somebody that I knew who had money. She wasn't interested in the car, but this was a collateral. And she gave me £2,000 less than what the car was worth. So she gave me £10,000. So she was already on the up, basically, if something went topsy-turvy. With that £10,000, that's what I used to create a website and create all the documentation for the businesses that we have today. And that's the money I used to put the advert in
the Sunday Times,
where I got my investor, my 151 person that I spoke to, which was a yes. His name is Chris Hughes. So I put an advert there that was looking for £100,000. I'll give you $1 million back. But whilst I'm holding your £100,000 capital, you take 25%
equity
of
of
equity.
3
years later, dead on. He got his million. He got a Jaguar. I got my 25% back. But here's the thing. The second part of the story ties in. Oh, by the way, just to conclude, the woman did get her Range Rover Evoque and the money was there to pay. Okay? Just to clear that one. But the second part of the thing is, Chris Hughes, when I met him, he said, I don't want no long documentation. I want to keep this very simple. You just give me a piece of paper that says, I've given you this money on this term and blah, blah, and let's go. It wasn't even registered in company's house as owning the 25%. That was just between me and him. It was just a handshake. Total stranger. When it came to paying him, I remember sitting at my accountant's office in Beaconsfield, where they sat down, all nicely suited and booted, justifying to me why I should not honor Chris's 1 million. At first, I thought it was a joke, and then I stood up. I thought, "Are you crazy?" I went through 150 no's over a 4-year period. Nobody gave me money. This total stranger gave me money, and now you're telling me when it comes to paying him that I should renege on the deal?
Wow.
You must be crazy. You know, Chris, right now, if I could open my email to you, there'd be several emails. On a daily basis, he sends me ideas, do this, and do that. Why? It respects me totally, because he said, you know what? Because I had to tell him. He said, you could have walked away from that. They were right. You could have. He said, but, you know, you stuck to your word. So that's what we're talking about, compassionate capitalism. He won. We're winning. Yes, we could have had a win-lose situation there. I could have walked away. He had no leg to stand on. Yeah,
because
so you buy
you did not establish strong legal documentation.
Correct.
It was like a mutual agreement.
Yes. So that's what we're talking about.
In good faith.
In good faith. A lot of people play win-lose, Daniel. This is the problem. This is what I said the last time I was here. A lot of people put invoice before passion. Put invoice before passion. You're not going to make any money. I saw it yesterday, as a matter of fact, on you got this Instagram thing called Millionaire Maker or something like this. And they clearly said it. It had the picture of Leonardo DiCaprio. If you're following just being paid, you're not going to make it, man. You're not. Like I said, Wayne Rooney, on the day he scored against Arsenal when he played for Everton, scored with as much enthusiasm as he would have scored when he played for Manchester United. Well, back then, he was being paid £80 a week. In 2001, when Wayne Rooney scored that wonder goal as a young boy, came on as a sub and scored against Arsenal, he was being paid £80. What if he said, why should I be on that field with these people that are being paid £200,000? You know, if you want me on that field, pay me £200,000. That's not how it works. So you got to put your passion before invoice.
Your passion before invoice. When we come back, we'll try and conclude this conversation. And I love it when you tell the stories. You know, I love it that I've heard this saying that if you want to understand the success of great people, you need to understand their stories. And I love it when I hear the stories. Let's take a quick breather. We'll be right back. This is ABN Radio London's Afropolitan radio station, and it's the Breakfast Show with me, Daniel, my special guest in the studio, Mr. Reginold Larry Cole, who's the CEO for Wheels for Show and Buy to Let Cars. We'll be right back.
Sending money has to be fast, safe, and efficient. So what they use? Pay Angel.
Now you can send up to £5,400 to Ghana for only £1.
Only £1? Up to £5,400?
Yes, only £1, and your friends and family can collect with ease from a cash collection point, mobile money on all networks, or directly from their bank account.
This is so convenient.
Wait for the most convenient part. Download your Pay Angel app to your phones and tablets and get started, or visit payangel.com. Pay only £1 for money transfer to Ghana, no matter the amount, when you pay for your transaction with instant bank transfer.
Get paid when your family and friends send. Terms and conditions apply.
Visit payangel.com for details. Pay Angel, truly an angel. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
ABN Breakfast Show, your Afropolitan breakfast on radio.
It's 44 minutes past 10 o'clock here on ABN Radio. Is the ABN Breakfast Show with Pay Angel. Visit payangel.com today. Pay Angel makes sure that your family and friends receive their money with so much ease into any bank account, any mobile number that's mobile money, and at any branch of their partner banks. Send up to £5,400 to Ghana for just a flat fee of £1 if you pay via bank transfer. Visit payangel.com today. And the exciting news they are telling me that I should tell you is that you get paid when your family and friends send money with Pay Angel. Terms and conditions apply. Go to their website today, payangel.com, for details. We are still here discussing compassionate capitalism, passion before invoice, the economy, how the West has benefited from Africa, how the East is now, things are now being aligned towards the East. What is it that we can do as African diasporans to change the narrative? My special guest in the studio, Mr. Reginold Larry Cole, CEO of Wheels for Sure and Buy to Let Cars, here with me. Reg, we're back.
Yes.
Now, exciting stuff it is, and let's bring this home. I mean, you've spoken passionately in practical terms some of the things that we can do. Now, I let me find out how compassionate capitalism can feed into African leaders taking the steps to make sure that our countries become economically independent. And I mean, whatever we do, whether we are based here in the diaspora or we're based home, in the next 10, 15, 20 years to come, we can say that we've progressed rapidly and we don't need to depend on any other economy to survive.
Yes. How they can do that? Quite simple, to be honest.
With bearing in mind these stories you've told and how compassionate capitalism can feed into such steps.
More than ever, the story is easier to sell today as to why the West needs to be in an equitable relationship with Africa. All you have to do is pull Sky News and show them the boats in the Mediterranean. Show them the camp in France, wherever that is. Show them that. Show them the immigration problem in Germany. And ask them the question, how long do you want this to be going on? How long do you want your people, your own people, to be dissatisfied with the way you're running their country? It's no secret, it's no mistake that your Brexit and your Trump have fueled this immigration, refugee, foreigner as part of their narrative. Okay? So now, if I was in politics, what I'll be doing with my politicians that I have to deal with internationally is selling them the picture on why the game is up. We can no longer work in the old-fashioned ways, the new economy. We want your people to have their freedom, have the access to hospitals, and have the access to whatever services they need. We want them to have the council houses when they need them. But hey, if you're just coming around and ripping us off and making a few people wealthy, then I'm sorry, we have no alternative but to see the boats in the Mediterranean. So now let me sell you a picture, Mr. Politician. Can you imagine if those boats stop coming? You say, well, how? How are you going to fix that? Simple. Let's be in an equitable relationship so these people can work. They can have factories. In Ghana, you guys are now making your own chocolates and stuff. I saw it.
The golden tree chocolate's
Yes.
been going on for a while.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
you know, fantastic. And your government is putting terms of engagement for people like excise duty and waiver and and help and so on to encourage people to keep the locals employed. Because if you can keep the locals employed, why would they want to risk their lives on the Mediterranean?
Absolutely.
So that's what we need to be selling. It's not an argument, it's not a fight. It's you sell the picture that this will benefit you and it will benefit us. The people now know that rather than stay home and starve and watch their kids' ribs expose, they will take the risk and go to the Mediterranean because maybe they might get to wash a car and earn £20 a day, which is better than $1 a month.
Right. Right. We're still having would you know, sometimes you the points are just overwhelming and you're thinking, okay, right, let's make sure we have all the ends tied up. But I'm very sure that you know, if you've tuned into today's conversation, you've picked very, very important pointers, and the conversation will continue as well. On Friday, Esther Alade will be looking at branding Africa and you know, how African businesses can really also brand themselves to make sure that an advantage is taken of the emerging markets in other parts of the world, right? So she will be here. Esther Lade will be here from 7 to 10 on Friday on the discourse. But we have just a couple of minutes to go, and like I said, I will be talking to Enes Doko in a minute. But Reg, let's what would be your final? Before I ask that, when is the book coming out? Because
so it'll be in quarter 4 of this year.
In quarter 4 of this year.
Yes.
Right.
So
right.
I've handed over my text to the publishers, so they did what they need to do and so on. But it'll be out. Compassionate Capitalism. It'll be out and it'll be on Amazon and all the other normal outlets.
Right.
Yes,
okay. All right. So make sure that when it comes, I mean, we will be the first to know. We'll be the first to know when it comes out. So you have to keep tabs on that. We would be bringing you that information right here on ABN Radio London's Afropolitan radio station. So let me pick your final thoughts on this quickly. If you in 2 sentences, if any of the African politicians are listening to you and you want to tell them 1 or 2 things, what would you say to them?
Let's look at the vision. Let's look at the vision. Listen, if you build the vision, you can have your private jet with golden toilets and whatever, as long as that man or woman that's willing to work can feed their family and get their dignity, you'll be left alone. You'll be left alone. We've seen this movie before. We've seen what happened in the Gambia. You know, with somebody that had, you know, saw it on YouTube, all the Rolls Royce and whatever left there today. Why? Because dissent built up among the ranks. They wanted to get rid of you because now the people know they're poor. They're not worshiping your Rolls Royce anymore. They're worried about their daughter that's got no shoes. They're worried about their son that's got no work when they finish university. Is it not time that we wake up and fix this so that you can live your life with dignity? When you leave power, you don't have to run away.
Not at all.
You don't have to run away. The people should be thankful that, wow, you served us well. Thank you very much. You know, they should make you president for life like they do with the American presidents. Yeah, you didn't see Barack run to Kenya to go live. He's happy in Washington, D.C. right there because he's done his job. You know, some people have gotten wealthy in that time. Some people got poor. You know, the economy worked the way the economy worked. But nobody can blame and say, you're responsible for my demands. And that's what we have with our politicians. They're responsible. So when they finish their term, they've got to escape.
Let me ask, what about those of us in the diaspora as well? What can we do to contribute to a change in the narrative?
Yes, I think every African in the diaspora need to listen to a Nigerian senator called Senator Ben Bruce. Yes, it's available on YouTube. In fact, the most recent one was the one he did in Florida. Now, I am not a politician. He is. Listen to Senator Ben Bruce and take the appropriate steps that he's suggesting that you could do in the diaspora to effect change in your homeland.
Right. Make sure you are doing that. We'll try and put that on our social media links so that you can go out there and listen. But Reg, one more time, thank you very much. I'm really appreciative that you took time out of your busy schedule to join us, and great lessons that we've learned this morning. And I'm sure that the conversation will continue in your homes, in your cars, wherever. Let's continue the conversation, and hopefully at another time, we'll look for another angle that is very relevant to the development of Africa, to the development of the Black ethnic minority here in UK and around the world, and we would keep this going. Right, so you can go back and watch this conversation on YouTube, on ABN Radio UK YouTube page, and I'm sure Reg streamed live on his social media handles as well, so you can get the details right there. My name is Daniel, but before I go, I would quickly touch base with Ernest Doku from Uswitch before I go. But here one more time is Ken Masco by Bay Rain. Business Matters with Mavis Amankwa will be on right after the news at 11 o'clock. But new research reveals that flexible contract designed to save consumers money could be costing them a combined £231 million sterling. Flexi tariffs being promoted as a remedy to customers overpaying if they fall out of contract. But there is concern that they are too good to be true. Ofcom has been investigating lack of end of contract notifications in the mobile industry. Consultation period starting this month, so you can participate in that. But I have Ernest Doku, who is a mobile expert with Uswitch, to talk to me quickly about this one. Hello, Ernest.
Morning. Hi.
Good morning to you. Thanks very much for your time, and thanks for joining me. Now, tell me, what is it about this new mobile contract costing customers millions of money?
Okay, so yeah, we did some research as Uswitch to really find out how much people are spending on their mobile contracts. We found out that 1 in 6 of us, so 15%, are currently out of our mobile contract. So we're overpaying by a combined £27 million a month for phones that we really no longer ought to be charged for. As contracts are now, they bundle in the cost of the phone with the airtime, and when you reach the end of 12 or 24 months, you still pay that premium amount. These flexi tariffs, they were supposed to really fix that problem because it separated paying for your phone from paying for your airtime. Makes sense. It's really good on the surface. But having looked a little deeper, customers are still spending £19 million a month more than they need to because the airtime part is still a lot more expensive than it could be.
These are staggering figures. So flexi tariffs, what are they?
So yeah, as I've touched on, it really enables you to pay for the phone and the tariff as 2 separate contracts.
Okay.
So you pay for one and you pay for the other. Once the phone is finished, your total cost goes down significantly, which is great news, and everybody would think that that's a great saving. But when you actually look deeper, the payment for the airtime, so your minutes, text, and data, is still around £70 a year more than you should spend for the same amount from the same network. So it's a great step in the right direction in terms of these flexi tariffs, but from a consumer perspective, there's still so much more money you could save. So what we want as Uswitch, as you've mentioned, Ofcom's consultation on end of contract notifications is currently happening. What we want is providers themselves to send you a letter through the door that clearly and transparently tells you how much you're paying now, how much you will be paying once your contract is over, and giving you the relevant options that you can do as a consequence. Because these numbers, as you've said, are staggering, and there's so much that consumers can do once they know what's available in the market. So flexi tariffs offered by O2, Sky, Tesco, Virgin, and probably more providers as we go down the line, stands to leave consumers even more out of pocket. That £231 million for the 3 million customers that are in the market, that is a realistic number in terms of how much more people can pay.
So customers need to be proactive as far as this is concerned and take some action, basically.
Very much so. I think that's the onus as it stands today on you as a consumer to think about how much you're paying, how much you could save. People on USwitch, when you come and switch mobile provider, you save on average over £280. So it's not a small amount. It's worth doing a little bit of homework and finding out. But we're equally wanting this end of contract notification when it arrives to actually be useful to consumers. So it isn't worth it just to say how much you pay each month. It should really be the ammunition that you need to find a better deal.
Right. Quickly, where can we get more information, Ernest?
Oh, there's a wealth of information on uswitch.com about mobiles, insurance, banking, and all the other sectors in the market that can save you money.
Right. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So that was Ernest Doku, who is an expert with uswitch.com. You heard it for yourself. Thanks very much for tuning into the ABN Breakfast Show. We're here tomorrow morning for another great edition of the program. The Business Matters with Mavis Amankwa is right up after the news.
Far away. But then that evening when we tried to return by the same motorway, there was a police blockade and thousands of people trying to get through